Я спросила, за что вас арестовали? Она, да потому что я дочь своего родителя. И, наверное, и она не знает за что. Не было причины ее арестовать.
When Anna and her second husband were arrested, her younger son Peter was left alone in their village. He was 9 years old at the time. She would never see him again.
He was forcibly conscripted into the army against his will and against his own beliefs, and was killed in battle near the city of Poznan, what is now Poland, near the end of the war.
Anna Markova spent almost 15 years in the Gulag in Siberia. She crisscrossed the Soviet Union a number of times during her term. Her second husband was killed in one of the camps, falsely accused of plotting an uprising against the prison authorities. Kalina and Tasha Repin want to know more about Anna's time in the Russian labor camps.
What happened to her in Siberia that changed her life?
As you know, in those concentration camps, it was so hard that many people died there. They would not be able to bury them because the ground was so hard, they didn't have it, so then they would freeze those corpses. And then when it would come towards the springtime, when they could dig the ground, it happened that she witnessed one of these times. They turned the lorry over and they just tumbled into the ditch. And so she asked him, how could you be so callous? These are all human beings. And here you just come, turn the lorry over. Couldn't you, he says, take them one by one and lay them kindly at least? He says, if you get into this system where I'm at, and he says, and you're not callous and hard, you won't survive. And then she came to the conclusion that the better part of humanity, like she says, us Doukhobors and other good people in the world, they just have to go through a certain amount of sacrifice and suffering so that the only way then that the world will see their example, they will start to get better. And this is what she says changed my life after that.
Doukhobors from around the country have gathered in Castlegar for the annual Youth Festival, celebrating Doukhobor music.
We welcome you to the 57th Annual Union of Youth Festival of the Union of Spiritual Communities of Christ.
This year's theme is Spirit of Change, consulting the past, renewing the present, divining the future.
Anna Markova was missed at these events during her years in the labor camps. She had vanished, and no one, including her son John and his future wife Laura, knew where she was.
Wow, hello,
In 1953, they tried to find her.
John made different inquiries because there was no correspondence coming in, and there was no mail for the longest time, and we had no idea where she was. So when we set our date for our wedding, we wanted very much to would have had her blessing.
John had a difficult life. When his grandfather died in 1939, the community had become bitterly divided. In an atmosphere of confusion and opposition, John was expected to lead his community. At that time, he was just 17 years old.
I'm a very hardened person, as they know from experience. I don't admit feelings too easily. If I'm hurt, I want to suffer the consequences and to show off that I'm a hard man, that I can suffer it and get by with it. Unfortunately, that is the element of which I was made, and I practiced in that. That is a matter, maybe a little bit of weakness. Maybe if I'd have cried more or suffered more, I'd have been expressing myself better expressed, and I would have suffered less.
Joseph Stalin died in 1953, and his campaign of terror drew to a close. And yet it took 7 more years until Anna Markova was allowed to leave Russia to come to Canada, where she would be reunited with the son she hadn't seen since he was a boy.
Emotionally, I was so glad. And yet, right after she came, she went ahead and asked me questions to satisfy her curiosity of what went on during this term. And when I tried to explain to her, she was kind of leery whether that is the fact or whether I was trying to make up a story for her. And it took me a while to convince her that I was speaking the truth, and she really got to understand that and accepted that, and I was happy about that. It pleased me then, because to me it seemed, hey, Mother, I lived without you. I hardened myself. I became a hard man. I want to be the baby that you left. I want to know and experience the goodness that motherhood can provide. And you are providing it to me now.
Она приехала из России, ей нужно было сделать встречу. И делали встречу не то, что я лично, а весь народ, много народу было, встретили. Даже дети были полные.
The family was now united, and John and Laura's children would grow up with their doting grandmother close by. The whole community embraced Anna, who was considered a baba or grandmother to a generation of Doukhobor children.
On a Sunday, there was a big meeting right here at this community center. And between Grand Forks and Brilliant area, there was more than 400 Sunday school children. We made a special children's greeting for her, and all the children here came out on the stage. And they sang to her, and there was more than 120 children on the stage. And she was so impressed with that, she said that the life part of this community is those children.
One of those children was Audrey Repin.
I have a lot of strong memories of Anna Markova in my life, but probably because of the fact that I was so young when she passed away, and I really believe children take in a lot. There's a lot that they're very impressionable. So I would think the strongest memory of her in my life would be the fact that when I would make an effort and read a psalm and put a lot of effort and say memorize it and read it out loud, or when I'd sing a solo and she would find her way to me through the crowd and reach out her hand and tell me how special it was and to thank me. And I felt her love coming from her soul to me.
She had a beautiful voice. I loved to listen to her sing. Sometimes I'd notice she was a bit lonely or concerned about something or other. I'd invite a couple of friends that I knew she enjoyed to be with. So they'd come, they'd chat, and that would kind of set her into a better mood because she had a hard life. And when she came here and she saw the freedom that everybody had, it was sad because I was able to tell that she had missed out so much in her life.
Anna Markova lived in Canada for 13 years, and when she died, the entire community mourned. Today, the Repin family and other Doukhobors remember her when they visit the Verigin tomb. Her great-grandfather Peter the Lordly is buried here, and Anna is buried by his side.
She was humble. She was committed. She was loving. She always considered others above her. I had a dream of Anna Markova, and she had a young face that I had never seen. Her eyes were gorgeous, blue, piercing to the soul. She looked at me and she says, "You're so young, but yet you look so old. You look like you're struggling. I have concern for you." You know, and just there's that love. Like that love came right out. Just what I felt from her, that she cared for me. She took time out from her heavenly trip to pay attention to me
And so Canada became the place where Anna Markova could finally rest. The legacy she left behind was a message of forgiveness. This is what she said in an interview not long before her death.
I asked myself, do I hold a grudge against the government or against the people who, for the sake of their own security, took advantage of others' misfortune? In answer, my inner voice said, there was no such grudge. I felt no hard feelings. I departed with a clear conscience, as before God, likewise before the people.